Hi, in this series of spoken tutorials on law of contract, today we are going to discuss about a very significant aspect of validity of contract under Indian Contract Act. This is a series in which we will be discussing various aspects of free consent. This video is the part 1 of that. Okay, let's see. Section 13 of Indian Contract Act 1872 talks about the necessity of free consent in a valid contract. So according to Section 13, people are said to have free consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense, or it is also known as consensus ad idem. This is a Latin maxim which says that people should voluntarily agree to enter into a contract and both of them should understand the terms and the conditions of the contract clearly and specifically. And that particular Latin principle is a part of common law and therefore Indian contract law, that parties to the contract must have a free consent. And Section 13 of the Act recognizes 5 situations where law presumes that there cannot be a free consent. In this video, we are going to discuss about the first situation where law presumes there is no free consent, that is coercion. Yeah. Coercion is the use of physical force in order to obtain the consent of the contracting party. But according to contract law, there are certain ingredients which will constitute coercion. Let's look into that. In coercion, one party commits or threatens to commit an act. That means either a party is doing an act or he is threatening to do an act. It can be a person commits a murder, causes an injury, defames another person, or it can be a person threatens to do any of these acts. Okay, now what is next? The act which either the party does or threatens to do must be prohibited by law. Specifically, the particular act must be forbidden by Indian Penal Code. That means the act which you are committing or threatening to commit must be a crime. To make it more clear, killing a person, beating up a person, kidnapping or detaining a person, all these things can be coercion, but at the same time expelling a student due to lack of attendance, sending a student outside the classroom cannot be coercion because these things are not crimes. Is it clear? Yes. Now what is next? Coercion can be committed on the person or on property. Say for example, A wants B to enter into a contract. A can cause an injury to B's body and force him to sign the contract, or it can be A can use the force on anyone in whose life B is interested. That means it can be B's mother, father, children, parents, friends, relatives, or anyone in whose life, very important, in whose life the other party is interested. Okay. Similarly, this force can be used on property also, like it can be a threat that B's car will be destroyed, B's house will be destroyed, any property in which the party is interested. Okay, so coercion need not be on the contracting party. It can be on any other person. It need not be on the person. It can also be on the property. Then let's see what is next. Coercion can be committed by the contracting party. Means the party who wants the other party to enter into the contract, or it can be committed by any other person on behalf of the party. Say for example, A wants B to enter into the contract. A is not in a position to use any physical force on B. A can get people to do that. That will also be considered as coercion. Then the entire purpose of coercion is very important. The purpose is to create a fear in the mind of the party. That is the only thing. Say for example, a threat can be a false threat. See, A is showing a pistol against B and asking B to sign. If A is showing a toy pistol, that will also constitute coercion provided B is not aware of it. B thinks it is a pistol with which A can cause injury or A can kill B. The fear in the mind of the party is more important than the actual possibility of doing a crime. And the most important thing is that all these things, either a threat or a commission of a crime, must be done with an intention to obtain the consent of the party to an agreement. So that constitutes coercion. A coercion is committing or threatening to commit an act which is forbidden by Indian Penal Code either on the party's physical body or on any other person in which he is interested or on the property in which the party is interested, with a purpose to create a fear in the mind of the party and therefore obtain the consent of the party to an agreement. That constitutes coercion. And as we all know, if there is coercion, there cannot be free consent. Now, let us look into the validity of a contract in which consent was obtained by coercion. See, when a contract is signed, the world or the public knows only about the formality, the legal formality of the contract, and the public is not aware about how the consent was obtained. And that is true in case of coercion also. The outside world has no idea how the consent was obtained, and therefore a contract in which the consent obtained through coercion will also be a valid contract as long as the innocent party does not raise any objection. Such contracts are known as voidable contracts. A voidable contract will be valid as long as the party does not object to it. But voidable contracts can be declared void when the innocent party makes an objection. So it is void at the option of the innocent party. All contracts where consent is obtained through coercion will be a voidable contract which is void at the option of the innocent party. That's all about coercion today. We will discuss about other aspects of free consent in the coming up videos. Till then, bye. Thank you.